tell the readers of life how it feels to be a girl among all those men.
I don't mind it. Chess isn't always competitive. Chess can also be beautiful.
All right, Anya, thank you so much for your time to talk about the Queen's Gambit. And I know it might not be fair to the other fantastic performances that you've done, but given that you have sort of 7 hours plus, do you feel that you got to explore your character's complexities to the fullest? And you think you might be addicted to that when you sort of have to compress and do it in a shorter amount of time for a movie or?
I would get in trouble with the characters in my head if I started playing favorites, but I will say that Beth has a very special place in my heart, and I would have felt very sad to have not had the amount of time that I had with her. And I think I'm so glad that we did it as a limited series. I'm so glad that we have, I mean, it sounds a bit daunting when you first sign on because you're like 7 hours of me. Oh God. But you know, Beth is fascinating, and I am so glad that I got to spend that amount of time with her and that Scott let me play her the way that, you know, she needed to be played.
But that actually, the way that you said 7 hours of me actually correlates to something that I wanted to ask you anyway, because do you see, let's just not spoil it, but let's say Beth eventually sort of lends to the value of a support system, even though in chess it's her on the board with the other opponent. Did you see a correlation that sometimes it's just you with the camera, but then you sort of meant to, there is a support system to sort of get you to where you need to go.
Oh,
I wonder if you thought about that.
Big time. I think my favorite, I've said this from my first movie and I still believe it 100%. My favorite people that I've ever met are the crews on film sets. The people that I've had the opportunity to interact with, the fact that most of the time I've been working on location, which means that every single individual that is there does not have their own support system. And so you build a support system within that world. I mean, I could write many books on the kindnesses that I have been shown and hopefully the kindnesses that I have shown other people. It's when a movie set works right, it is a wonderful society to be a part of.
Cool. So let me ask you this. I am evidently and obviously not an actor, but I'm coming from a place of, I admire the art that you guys do. Did you find that when you're doing the chess scenes, it's sort of the purest form of acting? Because in a sense, we always have to feel what you're thinking, but you know, it's sort of like you're still, and we have to sort of be with you in your brain activity. So if you could talk about sort of the challenge of that.
Ooh, I've been very lucky that whilst I've had no formal acting training, I've worked with some incredible directors, and some of the, you know, greatest advice I've ever gotten is like, just think it. If you're thinking the right thoughts, it translates. You don't need to pantomime huge emotions, but if you're actually having the thoughts of the character, you end up going where you need to go. It makes lines a lot easier to remember. It makes chess sequences a lot easier to remember. So yeah, I think I was never concerned about being able to tell the story in that aspect because I was genuinely just so present in it. And the wonderful thing about a chess match is it is played between two people. So you're not just experiencing what's going on in the board, you're also reacting to the energy of the person directly in front of you and whether or not they're trying to psych you out or where they are in that instance.
Then, I mean, so it leads me to my last question, and just because of time, because I could talk about this series forever because it's so great. How, I mean, you look at the sides, and today I'm doing a chess. Could you talk about sort of how you work with Scott in terms of building so it didn't become repetitive throughout her whole journey?
It was one of the first conversations that we had when we first met. It was, how do we make no chess match the same? And how do we make no episode of substance abuse the same? How do we translate the fact that for the substance abuse, it comes from a desire for a different thing each time? So whether that's desire not to feel lonely, as a, you know, reward, as a punishment, like what is it that's going on in that? And then with the chess matches, it really was about either the person that she was playing or where she was at in her own head. And a wonderful example of that, I think, is the first time that Beth plays Towns. it's the first time that she's ever played somebody that she actually feels a little sorry for. Like she's not totally happy about beating him as aggressively as she does. And I think that's a really interesting thing to go through as a character and hopefully to watch.
Yes, most definitely. And my time's up. So thank you very much. Stay safe wherever you are. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye, love. Thank you.
Bye.